For exercise P4-22, I'm going to start here on the center by drawing my circle that represents the bottom edge, which has a diameter of 30. From here, I'm going to draw my line that is going to go up 100. That line is then going to go straight across 80, and then come back down tangent to this particular edge. This is the rough, basic, overall shape for this part. So with that being said, I can go ahead and begin to work with what I have right now. So I'm going to orbit this thing around, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude already. So this sketch may look a lot more simple than you may have originally thought for this particular part. So I'll go to extrude, and I will select just this piece right here, and I will extrude that 8. Expand my extrusion, right click, share sketch, extrude this piece, which has a dimension of 30 plus 8, so 38, and I'll say OK, and then turn off the visibility of that sketch. Now, there's some things that I can do in here to make my life a little bit easier. One of them is I can work with what I have right now and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to do a sketch on this bottom surface. Okay, now when you go into sketch mode, this thing's going to orbit you around all over the place, so you always want to make sure you know exactly where you are by orbiting back to see where this feature here is, so that you know that you've got things in the right orientation. So for here, I'm just going to draw a line that I want to make sure is parallel to that outside edge, and we'll put a dimension in here of 30 for this particular feature. Now I can extrude this 22 because it's going to be the 30 minus the 8. So there is my extrusion of 22. Now before I get much further, I'm going to go ahead and fillet this edge with a radius of 15. And I will go ahead and apply that. So now you can see that this thing is starting to take shape. I'll do a hole, but this time I'm going to do concentric. I want it on this surface, concentric to this, through all with a diameter of 18. And I'll apply that. So based on what I'm actually working with here, you can see that this begins to take shape a lot more quickly than you would probably think that it would be taking shape. And the thing of it is just remembering as you go through here and do this, that if you break it down by its individual features, it's really not that hard. Next thing I'm going to do is this cutout in here. To do that cutout, I'm just going to do a new sketch on this surface, and I'm going to draw a triangle. So I'm going to make sure that I'm parallel on that side. I want to be parallel to that line, but I can go back and add that constraint as soon as I put this line in. So we'll go parallel between here and here. And now I can actually begin dimensioning this triangle. So I want the distance from here to be 40. I want the distance off the side to be 20. And I want the distance across the top to be 25. Okay, so that gives me pretty much everything that I want for that particular feature. However, it is going to cut into this, given its current dimensions. So what I need to do is I need to put in the dimension of 42 for this line segment right here. And it's saying that that's going to over-constrain the sketch. I'm not 100% sure why it's going to over-constrain, but if I hit F7, it's going to cut away everything that's in front of the sketch. Now, I'm guessing because I have a parallel constraint in here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on Show Constraints, which is this button right here. And I'm going to select this line and just for right now, I'm going to go ahead and delete that constraint because I do need the ability to move different parts. Okay, so we'll close out that little constraint right there. And I no longer want to be in the show constraints option. So let me go ahead and, okay, I'm out of it. So I'm going to left click and drag this up. And now I'm going to put a dimension in here of 42. Okay, now you see that that fully constrains this object without making this segment parallel to this segment. Well, that's essentially not exactly right. Given the dimensions in the book, this is another example of things are being dimensioned to a roundabout way as opposed to the actual way that it needs to be. I know that this line is supposed to be parallel to this line, but with this 25 dimension in here, it cannot be. So I'm going to click the 25 and I'm going to delete the 25 and put a parallel dimension in between here and here. Now notice that does change the shape of this, and I'm fine with that. The thing of it is this needs to be parallel more than this needs to be 25. And even if you look at the book, the 25 proportionately doesn't even appear to be 25. It looks closer to being around 20. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this sketch, and I'm going to extrude this piece saying that I want it to cut through all, and I'll say OK. Now I can go in and I can put in a fillet. So for my fillets, all the interior fillets on that particular piece are an R of 5. So we'll set my radius to 5 and I'll click these 3 inside edges. And I'll apply that. And there is my center cutout. Now I can go ahead and cancel this and place my hole. The hole is going to be on this surface. It's referenced from this edge and this edge. It's 45 from this edge, and from this edge here it is referenced as 10. Has a diameter of 8, and it is in 2 places, so I will go ahead and apply that. Now one thing I didn't do back here before I did those fillets, if I go back in here and edit this sketch just so that I can get a dimension, if I put a dimension in right here, this is going to be a reference dimension only, and I will go ahead and accept that that's 20.303. I'm going to go ahead and finish my sketch. That 20.303 is going to come into play for this second hole because we know that that's not 25 now. So I'm going to go back to hole. I want it on this surface, referenced from here and here. This is supposed to be 40. And this dimension right here, according to the book, it is 10 off of the 25. But we've figured it out to be that that is not 25, that it is in fact 20.303. So if we put this in at 40.303 plus the 10, it puts it into the place where it looks a little bit more accurate. This one here is supposed to be 45. Okay, so now when I look at the picture of this, it looks to be more proportionate to the way the book actually has it in by placing it at this 50.303. Now the thing of it is if I tell a machinist that I want this dimension in at 50.303, there's nothing they can do about that. So what the easy thing to do would be to round this down so that it's an even number, in which case I'm going to make it 50. That's a number that a machinist can work with to actually place the hole. Now the thing of it is even if you put this in with the 25 and everything like that. I'm not going to mark the location of this hole wrong. I'm really only giving you this information as a heads up. Sometimes the things that we see in the book are not quite right. And we've got to deal with those things and try to make the design changes necessary to actually place things the way that they need to be placed. So I will go ahead and apply that hole and then get out of that dialog box. The next thing that I have to do is I have to do this piece that sticks out up here. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to create a plane that is offset 15 from this back edge. So if I click on plane, then hover over this face and left click and drag, I can now say -15 and hit my checkbox. And that will create a plane that is offset 15. The way I got that is the overall length of the extrusion for this piece is 50, and the front edge of it is 65 off the back. So 65 minus 50 is 15. So now I'll go ahead and click on this and do a new sketch. And again, it kind of orbits me around and stuff like that. I just want to make sure that I'm in the right place. Now, I do want to hit F7 to cut away all of the information in front of the plane so I can see what I'm drawing. F7 is a toggle. It turns it on and off, so it's not getting rid of it completely. Now I'm going to go to Project Geometry. And I'll do Project Geometry before I actually cut that away. I want to project this line onto that plane so that I can use it in my sketch. So now I'll go to F7 and begin to work on my sketch. And what I need to happen is the dimensions in here are a little bit hard to see at times, but I know that I've got a line that I want to bring up. And now I'm going to offset that line to either side. This line is going to be a construction line, so I'm going to left click on it. Actually, we'll make it a center line, so I'll left click on it and click center line. Now you notice it gives it a slightly different line type. That's okay. Now I'm going to place the dimensions that actually define this feature. So the overall width of this small rib part, and looking at the dimensions, is not real easy to see. Eight. So I'm going to put a dimension between these two lines of 8, and then from the center line to here a dimension. I don't want an overall. Okay, maybe the center line option was bad, because what the center line does is it gives you diametric dimensions. So instead of center line, we'll go for construction line. And then from here to here is 4. The distance from the edge is 15. Okay, now that locates this part. Now I do want to draw a circle on the end point of this line that is going to have a diameter of 20. Okay, that has a height above the top of 40, so we'll put a dimension here of 40. Now I'm going to extend this line and this line up until they meet with that dimension of 40. Now I have everything I need to actually create the basis for this ribbed piece that's sticking up off of here. So I'll finish my sketch, go to extrude, select both of these profiles. Okay, can't find the bottom profile because I didn't draw a line or trim anything, so let me go back and edit my sketch real quick and just draw a line in between here and here. Now I can finish my sketch and extrude these profiles. I want it to go the other way, and I want it to go a total distance of 50. So now I can say OK, And now I'm going to turn off the visibility of this plane. So now we've got this piece in here. And again, the 50 may not be a completely accurate dimension when you look at it proportionally. It looks like it's getting a lot closer to the edge of this than it would actually need be. Now, what I'm going to let you all know is you can leave it at 50. I'm going to edit my feature a little bit, and I'm going to make it 45 because I think that the proportions need to be accurate in these particular cases. So I'm going to say okay. And again, I won't take off any points if you leave yours at 50. The only reason I'm making any changes is just based from a design perspective. So now what I want to do is I want to do another sketch based off of this, but now I'm just going to draw a line. First I need to project my geometry for this. I'm going to draw a line that comes from here down to here and over to here. And we'll say done. Let me hit my update button. Now this has a dimension of 15 off the back side. So we'll go from here to, I'm sorry, it's 10 from the center of this. So I need a line that actually locates the center of this also. So I'm going to go ahead and trim out, or however I choose to do it. If the object itself is 15 from the center and this is 10 from the center, then that's 25 from the left edge. So when I dimension this, I can dimension it at 25. Trying to create more work for myself than I need to. Okay, so with that I can finish my sketch and go to extrude. And I'm going to extrude this going the other direction, and it's going to have an extrusion distance of 8. And I'll say OK. So there I've got that ribbon. Next I'm going to place the cutout on this surface, which is just going to be a rectangle. And then I'm going to place all of the dimensions that apply to this rectangle. I know that this is, the way they have it dimensioned in the book, stuff is really hard to see, but this is 6 from here to here. The total distance across this piece is 30. The overall height of it is 18. Now mind you, since I took 5 off from the other one, I gotta take 5 off of this one to keep it proportionate. And the height from the base of this part is 8. So that is the cutout that appears on here. I'll finish this sketch, extrude, cutting through all. Now I can go in and I can start placing some of my fillets. So I know that my fillets are an R of 5. So I'm going to place all the fillets that I can practically place right now, which is going to be this fillet under this edge, this fillet behind here, all 4 fillets around this particular piece. Then I've got the filleted edge here and the filleted edge here. And that appears to be all of the fillets that I need, so I'll apply that. And then I'm going to create my hole, which has a concentric reference on this face, concentrically referenced to this with a diameter of 12. It goes through all, so I can apply that. And there is exercise P4-22. Now, the thing that I want to remind you of is if you do this using the dimensions that the book actually gives, I am not going to take points off. Okay, I missed the dimension over here, or a fillet over here, so let me put that in real quick. This edge gets filleted 5 as well. Okay, like I said, I am not going to take points off if you use the dimensions in the book. But one of the things that we're going to be starting to explore from here on out is the actual design of the part. Is what's in the book accurate? And if not, how do we make it accurate? So we're going to be taking a look at some design intent and stuff like that as we go through here. So once again, this is exercise P4-22.